Top 10 handguns ever made. Regardless of whether you're not a weapon fan, you would in any event appreciate the excellence, all things considered, round. Not everybody is a fanatic of weapons, but rather here I trust it would advance more to the ones who know and have perceived the exceptionally old tradition of gunsmithing, firearms and how they've developed and have been an immortal work of art just as the most creative things ever made as far as present-day fighting and so forth. While automatic weapons are somewhat too huge and profoundly prominent, one would in any event have the option to convey a disguised handgun someplace, by one way or another, either stalled in parts and reassembled later or similarly for what it's worth while cleverly stowed away from the direct unaided eye. The following is a rundown of the top 10 handguns ever to be made, reviewed and discharged. All have been assembled based on capability, style, ubiquity and different components. Top 10 handguns ever created. Top 10 handguns ever made. To separate the abbreviation of what CZ really depends on, it implies Česká zbrojovka Uherský Brod, ZUB, and is made by the Czech Republic. The firearm's configuration is really one of a kind and the system is all around etched just as made extremely slender to be held with ideal grasp and feel generally speaking. The CZ.75 has an expanded magazine limit which permits a super load of slugs at the same time, which at last results in more shots per magazine change, and that is the thing that we need with regards to a weapon, to discharge as numerous shots prior to changing to the following stacked magazine full. With the CZ.75, you're certainly getting more out of a solitary feed magazine than the rest. The barrel is fairly excessively dispersed and making it all the more lightweight, also simpler to convey. All the more speedier to pull out and use too, seeing that the heaviness of a barrel on a handgun can decide if the firearm gets pulled down or not when you haul it out for use. Weight of the barrel will decide how rapidly you can utilize a weapon without it bringing your entire hand pose down a piece. 9. Colt .45 Revolver. Top 10 handguns ever made. Colt .45 is one of the top 10 handguns ever made. It is clearly an ageless showstopper and all the more regularly known in the Western period of where sheriffs and ponies would run the spot. The stretched plan of the barrel and the bended hold most certainly has the vibe of a genuine Westerner or rancher. The .45 Colt has been perhaps the most preferred among all, seeing that over its timetable, it's seen more up-to-date shapes and grasps just as barrel changes, which brought about making want upon new buys or keeping an assortment as well in the event that they are sufficiently fortunate to track down these uncommon wonders around nowadays. Overall, notwithstanding the steady changes in its shape, Colt has never neglected to keep up its exemplary appearance and shape, which was one of the particular highlights that spreads the word about this exemplary magnificence so well for firearm lovers and even as a slick prop in Hollywood too. Colt .45 as a gun is one of, if not the most established gun ever made and utilized, and has been the single-activity armed force gun of numerous conflicts since the 1800s too. 8. Beretta 92 FS. Top 10 handguns ever made. At number 8 situation among the top 10 handguns ever made is the Beretta 92, which is really Italian planned and made and furthermore turned out to be one of the normal handguns ever to be bought and utilized too, preferred by numerous other, than it being a standard issue to certain exceptional powers and passing military determinations as a solid sidearm too. The barrel of this magnificence can be seen outwardly of the top piece of the firearm on display and looks much better when the slide is pulled back also, as you can see a force bar at the base and the barrel tip above it. Beretta 92 FS feels more like a solid weapon with veins popping and body worked because of the measure of bends, wedges, edges and inward just as external slope parts there are to it. Beretta 92 FS brags a long security which can be simpler to pull down when out of luck and furthermore to flick back up, and is situated right at the top of which one's thumb would be a simple access. With respect to 9mm are concerned, this is perhaps the most widely recognized of them, and packs a great deal of warmth as well, permitting 15 rounds for each magazine before the following change, and now 15 rounds is sufficient per 9mm round to raise a ton of ruckus anyplace, whenever. The firearm comes in silver, which is exceptionally cleaned or most generally in non-intelligent dark covering, and has highlights to permit a silencer toward the finish of the barrel or a compensator as well. To the extent Beretta silencer would go, they are adequately long to guarantee however much quietness as could reasonably be expected per shot. Made in Italy, it's likewise profoundly preferred by assassins of the mafia to quietly slaughter their objectives. 7. Walther PPK, James Bond gun. Top 10 handguns ever made. Indeed, you've gotten it, and I'm certain that you've effectively envisioned the kind of Walther PPK as a main priority with regards to a James Bond firearm. All through different scenes and sub-film titles of the 007 James Bond arrangement, he can be seen utilizing and preferring the Walther PPK over the rest that his contraption provider would sporadically offer him as a move up to his government agent tech and weapons. Walther PPK is the ideal measured firearm to pack a .380 ACP round or a few from a far distance, yet making the shot overall to save one's life. Here, Walther PPK takes the term handgun to a strict level, thus making it probably the best thing about it. The thing about it which can be seen immediately and making it one of the top handguns ever made is because of the way that it's extremely simple to disguise pretty much every sensible spot in a human body with garments on and a holster, obviously, and not yours opinion. It's minimized plan, and because of the way that it in a real sense accommodates your palm in its full length is fairly what it's amazingly known for. Having a little firearm of that charming and capable anyplace estimated weapon, yet with the abilities of shooting a serious incredible shot enough to drop an objective as wonderful as the plan of the firearm is. Size matters indeed, yet don't single out the lil fellow, as it could save your life while your bigger estimated gun begins uncovering itself to unforeseen and undesirable eyes. The PPK will likewise fit .22 LR adjusts, which will save you a great deal on ammo as well. 6. Searing high power. Top 10 handguns ever made. Searing isn't just known for its machine weapons, which has been utilized through several world wars and so on. Caramelizing additionally ended up having a past filled with making some wonderfully created guns which are in a similar resembled scope of probably the best available, if not surpassing them by a couple of indent of added highlights to it. The Browning high power gun then again has a flimsy barrel and slide like some others out there, however is more tasteful in its plan generally speaking, which adds a lighter load toward the end, making it simpler to convey and thus expanding the productivity of the weapon out and out. The vibes of the Browning high power is lovely and interesting to weapon lovers likewise, and to some degree an extravagant to the regular person to hold and to have its vibe also. Presented in the mid-20th century, BHP can be considered at this point another ageless exemplary piece, pressing a blend of capability, incredible taking care of, hold, stunning feel, and a 9mm 13 round limit too, which is an astounding gun in general, as the powerful title would recommend. It is no uncertainty precisely as bundled and publicized or named. Cooking has made some awesome firearms in weapon history, and this can be considered as one of his most prominent to the new assortment. The caramelizing high power brags .40 caliber force to be reckoned with to its name. Also, it's frequently belittled for its performing capacity. 5. Sig P 226. Top 10 handguns ever made. Sig Sauer guns are certainly unique and comparable in plan to the CZ, just as the Browning high force, yet with a contorted mix of a more advanced plan supporting for the sake of arriving at the genuine presentation potential to the extent a hand firearm is thought of. There is a colossal interest of shoot power from weapons, and individuals offer more to the plan of one additionally when taking in thought what to purchase and what not to, and so forth. Similarly as with anything, it's in every case how stuff outwardly seem which impacts a large portion of our purchasing choices, and the Sig P 226 is certainly engaging in looks just as fulfilling in its conveying capacities of force shots as well. On the off chance that you haven't known about this, the Sig P 226 has been exceptionally intended for the United States Army and conveyed by United States Navy SEALs and several other law requirement experts overall too. This should justify itself with real evidence about the nature of the handgun we're discussing. There are an assortment of Sig Sauer made ever since the first of its creation alongside various models and types, each having a novel capacity to act in a specific way. For this situation, the Sig P 226 is a posh gun in every feeling of its creation and highlights, which incorporates its cleverly fused well-being highlight which is installed behind the actual hold. This is surely a handgun, worked for splendor and exactness as well. 4. Glock 17. Top 10 handguns ever made. Here discussing a Glock. Any Glock, however, a Glock 17, perhaps the most conservative weapons out there, yet with an enormous measure of capability in general, the rest, making it truly outstanding in its wide assortment range underway, and furthermore turned out to be utilized by different aggressors and other law-authorizing individuals all throughout the planet. Perhaps the best handgun out there and pricey too for several reasons, however certainly for all your cash is worth. In the event that however your Glock was provided by whichever law requirement substance you address, at that point do exploit its cordiality. Glock overall has a rubbery installed material which is over the metal covering and edge, which gives you an ideal hold around the whole weapon, which forestalls sneaking off at any expense from your hands. When it's in your grasp, it fundamentally turns into a piece of your palm. Its solid grippy and rubbery plan implant positively expands exactness, as you can have the option to immovably hold the firearm, haul it out, wave it around in its ideal weight, which is underlying to ensure the best treatment of the gun all the time, every time. You can't turn out badly as far as missing your objective when a Glock is included. As a 9mm gun, it can hold a 17-round magazine limit, and furthermore, with it being self-loader, you are securely ready to pack 17 slugs all at once in those crisis, high-pressure circumstances, which again makes it fit for the law enforcement climate. Being twofold activity in a Glock gun is an additional benefit. 3. Desert Eagle .50. Top 10 handguns ever made. This is a extreme weapon choice to make indirect this purpose of incorporating this rundown of top 10 handguns because of the way that currently we're spoilt for decision, and is in the line of where the contest between the following after handguns turns out to be tight to contrast, just as with rank. Every one of them enjoys their benefits, which is a burden to the next, and the other way around, which improves it than the other as well. Nevertheless, the Desert Eagle .50 caliber is by and large what it decides to be, and that is a more sumptuous firearm to have. The three-sided barrel end plan of this beast or skull splitter is progressive and selected just to this particular handgun. Here we're discussing unadulterated substantial execution and significant force in your grasp. Enough of one shot to blow a couple of solid things to parts, bits and small pieces. That is the force of a one-cycle .50 cal from a Desert Eagle. The plan of the Desert Eagle is really a wonder as far as possible, and particularly when it's chrome silver plated, matte dark or uncommon at times sparkly gold completion, which has circuitous similar impact to the eyes and the longing of every weapon aficionado's heart. Sweet Eagle .50 is a stellar weapon of mass homicide, kind of inadvertent blowback, and more awful whenever discharged at a human body, enough to have the option to part a human head in two whenever shot at an individual for the slaughter. A connection of an electric lamp just as a powerful red spec sight on top can likewise be fitted, which is marvelous if necessary to be utilized around evening time. In the event that you take a gander at the weapon at tabletop view, you would intently see from the trigger going upwards to the sledge, it is really molded similarity to the Eagle elevated and snout. The decision of a .50 Sweet Hawk power shot is that, even your impenetrable wouldn't be projectile conformation, extremely long whenever paralyzed with one of its .50 cal slugs, and for this situation giving you a chaotic sting. 2. Smith & Wesson .50 cal. Top 10 handguns ever made. Smith & Wesson Revolver is certainly a superior .50 caliber than the Desert Eagle .50 caliber, seeing that its amazingly long barrel length is the thing that gives the projectile preferred precision over some other hand weapon made. This isn't the sort of pistol that you holster around your waist, seeing that it's too long to even consider hefting around like a sidearm. This one, however, is to be utilized on a bi-case, as it needs to rest its long barrel for greater dependability and relentlessness of the incredible .50 cal shot. Doing as such, you can turn your handgun, Smith & Wesson .50 cal gun, into a small expert rifleman weapon with simply a similar sum, if not in excess of, a sharpshooter rifle's power. While .50 cal power for each shot isn't the solitary thing which breathes life into this revolver monster, something else which makes it so awesome and fascinating too as a handgun is that it's exceptionally adaptable and flexible in its highlights of permitting the association of a buy unit and a powerful degree to it, just as several different accomplices to it. Only one out of every odd handgun would permit you such capacities, generally speaking, as the Smith & Wesson .50 progressive gun would. It has additionally been appraised as the most remarkable creation pistol on the planet today. 1. M1911 Pistol. Top 10 handguns ever made. M1911 can be considered as John Browning's valued gem and expert formation of a handgun. I have positioned the M1911 number 1 on the rundown of top 10 handguns ever made absolutely because of the well-established certainty by several gunsmithers, fighters and everybody all throughout the planet, just like a progressive gun, something genuinely sensational too. There are simply an excessive number of things around a 1911 that overshadows every other handgun, and by assessment as well as by attempted and tried realities of the world and its set of experiences in weaponry headway. Albeit a M1911 pistol is certainly not a .50 caliber like the Desert Eagle and .50 cal Smith & Wesson gun, it is a .45 ACP skilled handgun, making it only 5 types less, however, with a tremendous a greater amount of highlights and benefits over the remainder of handweapons as well. Allow us to further separate it to the best of its potential as a handgun over every other hand firearm ever made. As a matter of first importance, this particular weapon has a past filled with legacy to it in the conflict parts of where the world has developed from to where it is presently. The M1911 gun has been intended to follow military details and has acted in precisely that obligation for well longer than a century in its creation, and still delivered similarly as it was back in the mid-1900s as well, keeping up its unparalleled exemplary plan out and out, yet with the present progression highlights jam pressed into it too. The 1911 has been a dependable sidearm for a very long time to talk, and is so really stunning for some reasons, and they are as per the following. Notice. It is a programmed gun, which basically implies, you pull the trigger once and hold it, until it shoots every one of the 7 rounds of its magazine limit immediately, or you can utilize it semi-naturally. It essentially turns into a little machine weapon. The force include is the thing that permits the weapon to be programmed, so geniusly planned, where when one slug is shot, it backlashes and springs the slide back in front, positioning it to set up the following projectile for the shot, and when all rounds are out, it would just after effect and stay there till you reload. All things considered, it's astounding seeing that the base back part is checkered to find a way into your palm, following up a well-being switch included at the top right in line of your thumb for the flick of the switch. The 1911 is additionally field strippable, which implies you could be sitting in an infertile bramble someplace and will actually want to dismantle everything and set it back up. It has abilities of fitting a silencer just as a red dab sight and an underbarrel electric lamp to it, and a twofold securely highlight which forestalls unplanned terminating in any event, when the well-being isn't on. The 1911 gun is unquestionably the best ever made, seeing that it is of wonderful size and weight, and with every one of the functionalities of the rest as well. The best part about it is that its unique plan can be altered in different manners, for example, the holds, trigger, barrel, slide, outline, security switch, and so on. Please remember to subscribe, like, and share.